Welcome to Mortality with me. I've just wrapped up my fundraising for Movember 2022. Thanks to everybody who donated. Yay! We made it. Woo! And as a wrap up, I just want to talk a little bit about three major mortality trends for U.S. men, okay, American men in specific, that connects to the Movember theme, mission, etc. So, as a reminder, the Movember Foundation was originally started in Australia and around prostate cancer screening originally. A couple of bros challenged each other around prostate cancer, shave off all their facial hair, grow some mustaches, yada yada, and encourage each other and all of their male friends to get screened for prostate cancer and to reduce prostate cancer mortality and yada yada. Okay, since then, the Movember Foundation has grown internationally and they focus on prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and men's mental health. So let's start with prostate cancer and what's happened with prostate cancer mortality in the US. So here I've got the age-adjusted death rate for U.S. males, and you may be wondering why I have this particular vertical scale. You will see soon enough. I've decided to just focus in on the experience from 1999 to 2021, and the 2021 stats are provisional, but they're probably not going to move very much. And I want to talk about the trend that you're seeing here. If I pushed it back to 1968, because I do have those stats, I will share in the video description some links to my posts that I did for Movember 2022 that have the most recent statistics on prostate cancer, and it pushed back to 1968. This age-adjusted death rate, it's adjusted to the year 2000 reference population. Okay, so this is where I take the mortality rates or the death rates for different age buckets, and then we normalize it so that it's the same weight for the different ages over all of the years, so that it's not weighted as the population ages. The population in 2021 is skewed older because of the boomers compared to, say, 1968. So we're trying to keep a same age profile, and that's what age-adjusted death rate means. And also, it's a little different, when you have different causes of death. So I can do this by cause of death. I did it for prostate cancer. Now, the peak for prostate cancer age-adjusted death rates was about the mid-1990s, and then it's come down since then. Now, why it was increasing to the mid-1990s, my guess had been that the primary cause of death, which had been heart disease, actually it still is heart disease, but cancer is going to surpass that soon, had been coming down partly because smoking incidence rates for men had been coming down. And, well, you got to die of something. That means that cancer starts coming more to the fore. That's why I'm saying cancer is going to surpass heart disease as the number one cause of death, most likely, because you got to die of something. Something's got to be number one. And heart disease has been coming down. Okay, so let's get back to prostate cancer. Anyway, it has been shown since that peak in the 1990s, the PSA, so is it prostate-specific antigen blood test, has been very good at detecting early stage prostate cancer when it's most treatable, and has really brought down prostate cancer mortality. And actually, the 5-year survival rate for prostate cancer has really gone up to like 98% because it can be detected so early now. So you can see it's really come down till about, it's kind of sputtered since, about 2012. Well, what happened? Well, in 2008, the official government body or whatever that comes up with recommendations on PSA tests originally said, I'm trying to remember, let me go switch to that window. So this is one of my blog posts. I will provide a link to this blog post if you want to read the whole thing. But this is from the Cancer Society, American Cancer Society, I believe. And this has to do with the stalling out of mortality improvement on prostate cancer. Well, in 2008, the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force recommended against regular PSA screening for men age 75 and older. And I remember the reasoning at the time was that if they detect prostate cancer, early stage prostate cancer, a lot of times these would be slow growing tumors, and that the men would die of something else before the tumor actually would cause any trouble. So why treat it? This weight. And of course, a lot of these prostate cancer treatments cause trouble. And of course, if they're age 75 and older, they're on Medicare and it costs the government money. Oh, they didn't say that one out loud. Yeah, but you don't hear this kind of recommendation for breast cancer now, do you? They do actually said, I did ask with regards to mammograms, what age should you stop screening? And I think they told me age 80, and I'm not going to look it up right now because I'm focusing on prostate cancer. In any case, in 2012, they said, there shouldn't be blanket screening for PSA testing for all men. If you don't have risk factors, don't do it. Okay. The problem is, since these recommendations have been proposed, there has been a stalling out of mortality improvement on prostate cancer. And then they've been finding more and more prostate cancer at later stages rather than at early stages. This is the case with Stuart. Now, in his case, he had been getting screened, but you can have an aggressive cancer and just be unlucky. That can happen too. That said, the different ways of screening, PSA can find the, prostate cancer early on. It's kind of interesting that they said, don't screen for it with a blood test, which isn't all that invasive, versus mammograms that women get for breast cancer screening, which are pretty freaking invasive, I'll tell you what. And I got to schedule one. Anyway, let me get back to the graph. So we had this improvement in the PSA regime, and then since they stopped recommending doing regular PSA testing, it's gone level. So men, if you have a prostate, maybe you want to think about whether it's in your interest to have prostate cancer found early, or when it's no longer in your prostate and it's in your bones, and then your situation is far worse. It's a thought. Talk with a doctor. I'm not a doctor. This is just, I'm not happy with this trajectory. But wait, I have worse news. Let me add the next line. So one of the other themes that Movember Foundation focuses on is men's mental health. So here I'm showing the suicide trend, and obviously this is not good. This has been trending upward. Now this is age-adjusted death rate, so I'm not disaggregating what's driving this. And what's driving this is an increasing trend in suicide rates for younger men. So this is really bad. There was a little respite during 2020, but it went back up in 2021, and so we have a higher rate than ever. What's interesting is it was just kind of level for a while because suicide rates for old men were going down for a while, and rates of death by suicide for the oldest men actually are still the highest compared to younger men. You just don't notice that. It's not even in the top 10 causes of death for old men. And the reason why is, of course, all sorts of natural causes are killing them at much higher rates, though not prostate cancer, as you can see. that specific cancer. Now, cancer as a whole, of all types of cancer, have a much higher rate for old men compared to suicide. And this is age adjusted, so it's, doing all sorts of things. At old ages, I believe prostate cancer has a higher rate. And, if you're looking at age 85 plus, but, don't quote me on that. I'm not looking at those numbers specifically. So this has been a very bad trend for suicide for men. Actually, the trend for women is bad as well, if I remember correctly. That said, if you do a ratio of male to female of the death rates by suicide, you'll see that suicide's like it's 4 times uh, the rates. Men's rates are 4 times that of women's, male to female, and that is far higher than the natural causes. That's far higher than the all cause ratio. So that's pretty horrendous. It makes sense that they folded in men's mental health as a cause for the Movember Foundation. But wait, I have even worse news. I'm sorry to add to this graph. I mean, there are no words. Look at that. Just look at that red line. Drug overdoses, and it's bad for females too, okay? But it is higher for males compared to females. The ratio for drug overdose deaths, and these are supposed to be unintentional, by the way. These 3 causes of death. The way I select this, I get all the data from CDC Wonder database. I'm pulling all the data that's underlying these the graphs. The This is supposedly unintentional drug overdoses, not suicides. Um, and people ask me, well, how do they know? I don't know. This is how it's recorded on the death certificates. That said, and this is mainly fentanyl overdoses, and yes, we can get it by, what caused it. Um, in most of the cases, yeah, years ago it was oxy, yeah, years ago. And yeah, there's heroin and meth and stuff like that, but in recent years, I would say since 2015 or so, this acceleration of drug ODs, deaths unintentional, has been driven by fentanyl ODs, and I believe it's really unintentional. A lot of times people, oh, deaths of despair. I'm not sure that's what it is either. In some of these cases, it's not clear to me that the users know they're taking fentanyl. In some cases, they absolutely do know that it's in there, but in many cases, they may not know. They may think they're getting a party drug. Who knows? Um, but a lot of times, it's a cheap drug that is mixed in with other drugs. So it's used in combination with other drugs to give a potent kick, and it can be deadly. So, and it often is. Most of these drug OD deaths are occurring with younger people, so older teens, young adults, and actually into the 30s and age 40s. We're getting some into the 50s and 60s, but not that many. It's peaks around, I think, older 30s, like 35 to 39, if I remember correctly, for deaths. So there may be a combo for 35 to 39, 40 to 44 for the drug OD deaths. So there may actually be a combo of recreational drug use and drug use because pain, once they start getting into middle age. But also, once you get to a certain age, maybe your body can't take it so much anymore, or you can't survive it as well. That maybe you're taking it in your 20s and you can survive the OD. I mean, you can come back, but you've been a junkie for a while and then you can't survive it. That might be what's going on. Your body's just, it's like alcoholism. Very rarely do you get the alcoholics dying of killing your liver when you're 25, but by the time you're 35, yeah, you may have drunk yourself to death. It takes a lot of drinking to get there. Um, yeah, so this is pretty hideous. Uh, some of it may be mental health. It can be other things driving it. I am not sure. I'm just putting this here out for educational purposes. Prostate cancer has some semi good news, but we want to continue that trend downward, get back into the screening. We don't want to have the cancers found at a late stage. We'd rather find it at an early stage when it's curable and not merely treatable as a chronic condition. Um, as I often say about Stewart's condition, because he had advanced prostate cancer, as they call it, but it got in his bones, and it's not curable, but it's treatable as like a chronic condition. Well, we would rather it not be chronic. We'd rather it, be curable. There you go. Then we have increasing suicide rates, and that's awful. And then the drug overdose. That's all over the country, all socioeconomic levels, and it is both men and women. But the rates for drug OD deaths is higher for men by 2 times, 3 times that of women. Uh, not as high as suicide. Suicide is like 4 times. And then prostate cancer, well, that's non-comparable. So these are some of the causes I've had. Fight the good fight. Death, where is thy sting? Well, wow, that's quite the sting right there. And let's remove that sting. That's pretty awful. But thanks to everybody who helped me this year with the 2022 Movember fundraiser. And I'll be back again next year. Been doing it since 2017, so 2017 through 2022. I know I've raised over $8,000 in funds for the Movember Foundation. I'll actually have to go find out what the total is. So thanks, y'all. Talk to you another time.